we need to. I also want to thank everybody who's been supporting us this past year, contacting us, telling us about their specific ants that they're keeping. Really appreciate the pictures. It's always nice to get a personal feel of where our products are ending and what kind of ants are being kept in them.
Yep.
And just basically, bottom line, very appreciative for all the support we've been getting the past year.
Great. Don, what species of ants are you looking forward to keeping this year?
I do quite a bit of traveling, as you know, Mikey, so it's kind of difficult for me to have a substantial amount of ants.
Yep.
We do have the Campos Verkilians out here,
Yep.
Which I'm very fond of, and hoping to keep on growing with that species in our own products, of course.
Excellent.
So,
now, what's your favorite kind of ant?
That basically is it.
Mm.
The Campo Verkilians are basically my favorites.
Excellent. Great.
Yeah. But
aren't you also
not to diminish any of the others?
Aren't you also a big fan of the Dracula ants?
I'm very.
I remember you mentioned.
I appreciate all the species and what their looks, their mannerisms, and the environments that they're growing in and they live in.
Yep.
Basically, they're all very, very unique to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That interview with Dr. James Traeger was fantastic. Thank you once again to Dr. Ant for participating in that interview with us. That was really informative. I just find that whole slave-making lifestyle interesting. You know what I mean? Okay, if you think about Firmicidae, right? That's the the grouping, the taxon of ants. So many different species, but I just imagine us, like who is in our taxon? So what, we're Hominidae, so that encompasses the great apes, so chimpanzees and gorillas. Can you imagine if humans had to contend with a species of gorilla that kidnaps human beings in the cities and uses these human beings as slaves to help them live? I find that interesting. Don't you?
It's pretty. It is pretty interesting. Pretty out there too with the gorillas, but yes, pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, just
I understand where you're
rough
from,
analogy,
yes.
right?
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. So thank you once again, Don, for everything, all the work. Highly appreciated. And so I guess now we can continue on with the show. This part of the segment, I know we're reaching our end now, but we are still going to go over the time limit because we don't have to worry about any TV shows happening after this, right? That's the beauty of it. Not like live TV. So now we're going to open the boards to you guys in the chats. You guys still there in the chats? Yeah, I see you all. Any questions you might have, feel free to write them in. We can answer them as best we can. I see Milta in the chat as well. I'm sure he'd be able to shed some light. And we're all learning. This is the whole ant keeping movement is kind of new in North America. I know they've had it in Europe and other places, but it's still fairly new. And I find it kind of analogous to the keeping of herps, like reptiles and that sort of thing. Just 20 years ago, I remember it was kind of like an underground thing. Now it spawned a whole industry, of products and information, and you type, reptile ant forum and a whole bunch show up, and our dream at the AntsCanada Ant Store is for that to one day be the same for ant keeping, because they certainly are interesting, and there's so many benefits to keeping ants. You don't even need to bring them to a vet, right? So let's see, any questions here? Will the book ever be available in paperback form? I don't know. Don, what do you think? Will the book ever be available in paperback form?
I think as we keep on growing in terms of the volumes and adding chapters and doing some more in-depth work, I think that is definitely a possibility in the future. Yeah.
Also, I believe we were also looking into DVDs, right? For tutorials and all of that. There's definitely a lot of exciting things coming up for the AntsCanada Ant Store, right?
I think one of the things that we might also do is possibly kind of like an e-book as opposed to a hard copy book with the more use of the e-readers. I think
Yep.
that's more an avenue to go and be more technology advanced.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
plus,
ebooks right now is really hitting
yeah,
hard now. Eventually, you know, they'll like actually. It's scary to think about it, but imagine when like actual physical books are obsolete.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be weird. Anyways, okay. So that hope that answers your question. Um, let's see what else here. How long does it take Lasius Niger Queen's first eggs to hatch? Well, that depends on several factors. For one thing, temperature is one. If you keep the ants at 1 or 2 degrees above room temperature, typically the eggs develop quicker, um, and you receive your first group of workers quicker. And how do you do that? Well, we found the best way to do that is to heat the room up um, that you're keeping them in. I know that sounds kind of weird, and it's actually beneficial if you have many colonies. You just heat the room, and that way you don't have the dangers of overheating ant nest space, and it really works well that way. And as well for hydration, if you need to keep the room humid, it's better to do it that way as opposed to like completely flooding their living space. So it depends. It can take anywhere between, I don't know, to hatch, maybe anywhere between like a week to even next year, especially depending on when you catch them. I know the Lasius neoniger queens that we catch here towards the end of the summer and the beginning of fall, they don't lay eggs at all until next spring. They kind of hold off on eggling until the next year. So it really depends on a lot of factors. Of course, with ant keeping, it takes a lot of patience. So, on other questions here, is 50-watt reptile heating cable too hot? You know what? 50 watt is kind of high. We tend to use the 25 or 15 watt, and even that can get high. We only literally, like, this is what the cable looks like here. See, I'll grab that here. We're not using this now because it's hibernation period, but typically what we do is, for heating the nest, we just place the nest on one little portion of the nest, touching one little section of this cable, and this whole cable can heat a whole line of nests. If you have an AntsCanada nest or pumice stone nest, very easy to just through the back, through the stand, you can just like sandwich it there. If it's test tubes, it's a little bit dangerous, but if you want to heat the nest, we've done this with Camponotus before. You basically lay the test tube water portion over the heating cable, but you have to keep a close eye on them for the first hour to see if they're kind of reacting, because if it's too hot, you don't want to kill your colony. Room temperature usually is okay though. If the ants are from your area, they're used to your climate and temperature anyway. So one of the advantages of keeping native ants. What else here? What other questions? Is it true hibernation of the colony helps to keep the queen and colony stronger and live longer? Well, that's a very good question. In our experience, lowering the temperature kind of it slows them down. Not only does it slow them down, but it essentially goes to cycles. We created a tutorial on this. For those of you who have experienced jet lag, it's definitely not a very comfortable thing. And that's just one of the cycles. The circadian cycle keeps track of, when your whole body, I guess, your functions, they run on this circadian cycle. When you see light, you wake up, your body knows it's morning, and you usually have to go to the bathroom in the morning, and all functions happen based on this cycle, and you're used to it, and then when you go to like overseas, you get this major jet lag, and it totally screws you up. You almost feel sick, and your body's confused. Now, I imagine it's the same for ants that way, and they also run on cycles, on a yearly cycle. They have a biological clock, and even if you keep them warm in the winter, they kind of still slow down, but it's kind of weird because they go out and forage, and they go about their activities, but in a slower way, which doesn't happen naturally in nature. So we encourage that people keep their ants cold. This room that these ants are kept in is usually at 10 to 15 degrees. I kind of like cut off the heating out of this room, and I don't even live here. But it encourages the ants to go into hibernation. You know, a lot of animals, like for those of you who've kept lizards, like bearded dragons and stuff, they have to be hibernated for their eggs to be fertile. You know, and it's a whole bunch of things. But yeah, hibernating the colonies is definitely something that we encourage, and some say it makes the colony last longer. Okay, question. You had mentioned an ant colony adoption program at one point. Can you tell us more about that? All right, the AntsCanada Global Ant Nursery. I'm gonna bring Dawn back here to help because we can't really reveal too much about that program. Dawn, would you like to take over?
Yeah, at this point, it's a work in progress, and we're probably going to be launching more details either the tail end of this month or the beginning of next month. So stay tuned, and we'll make sure that everybody gets to know the details. There's a few more questions up on top that I think were more business related that maybe I can knock off.
Yep.
One was, I believe it was Wood Ant. I'm trying to screen back. He was asking, or she was asking whether we need somebody in the UK. As our company expands, we're definitely going to be looking for different people in different countries. So the best that we could recommend is if you're interested and you have something to offer, to send an email to customer service, and we'll make sure that we keep your name and possibly resumes and your skill set on file.
Yep.
Somebody else had asked whether you can make money off of an ant company, I believe. I'm not quite sure who that was. But I definitely. we go into we start companies to make a profit. At the start, it's always a little bit slow. You know, that's the sweat equity of it. But if you set up your company properly and you have the right people and the right network of professionals like we have, both in terms of the ants, the community, but also the business side, you can definitely make a run at any company. I think that was all the business questions, Mikey.
Great. Excellent. Thank you very much, Don. So hopefully that sheds some light on those questions. And of course, if you have any more questions, you can feel free to send them to AntsCanada@yahoo.com. We have a great customer service team that's there to help answer anyone's queries and hopefully shed some light. Now, we are going to close the show with a live feeding of the Tetramorium ants. Yes! The colony right now has been... I've pretty much been feeding this Tetramorium colony maybe once or twice a month. You know, they get a special treat. So 2 weeks ago we fed them that piece of the cantaloupe. But I want to give them a little bit of mealworm for all of you guys to see live streaming. We'd like to thank everybody who tuned into the show. Thank you guys so much. For everything. Thank you once again to Dr. James Traeger for the great interview. For those of you who want to watch the interview again, all the videos you saw here will be available on our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're always releasing new videos and new ant goodies for you to just gobble up, because if you're like me, you crave ants every minute of every day. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a great show. We'll be announcing our next episode in the near future, so stay tuned and stay connected with us through YouTube, Twitter. We have a Twitter page, Facebook, on the AntsCanada Facebook page, which was recently created. Visit our site, AntsCanada.com, regularly, and I guess just spread the ant love, guys. It's really been fun. Also, be sure to continually visit our museum section, because aside from our episodes of the AntsCanada show, AntsCanada TV will just be randomly live streaming our colonies. So, periodically be sure to come and visit and check out the live streaming of our various colonies here at the AntsCanada Ant Store. So, thanks once again to all those in the chat. Thank you. I'm going to take you guys now to the Tetramorium colony. Here we go. Sorry. Let's do this here. These Tetramorium have been waiting. I gotta manually work this. Gotta manually work this. There we go. Nice and zoomed in for you. Okay. So, colony's going about its business. Now I need to go and feed them some mealworms. So, here we go. Mealworms, where are you? Have some mealworms put aside here. Ooh, I'm sorry, but I need to pre-kill them. I don't want them struggling with stuff. You guys see that? Yep. There's a freshly killed mealworm. You know, it really, a little part of me kind of dies as I have to slay these. But you know, I think about how it will bring nourishment to the colony and benefit the colony as well. It's kind of a circle of life, I guess. So now we have an ant discovering the food. 2 ants have discovered the food. I'm actually going to add another mealworm there. Alrighty. Got food there. So, as you can see, they're moving fairly slow. It's because they're in hibernation, but eventually the ants will discover. I'm going to use this barbecue skewer to kind of space them out here. There we go. I think these ants are kind of used to the pre-killed prey now. Doesn't look like they're freaking out too much. Oh no, the mealworm's still moving. That breaks my heart a little bit. Now, why can they still move even though their heads have been crushed and they've been partially, dismembered? Well, it's because insects, they have a brain, but they also have groupings of nerve cells called ganglia, which run down their body, you know, down the center of their body, and which is why if you decapitate an insect, you often still see them moving. Okay, look, they're all starting to come now. Some workers are getting excited. I'm sure they're releasing the pheromone. Now, some of the ants start engaging in this jerky movement, you see. They're probably releasing a pheromone, but also I think they're stridulating. I mean, I'm too big to hear, but I'm sure when you get down to their level, they create stridulation. It's a process where insects rub 2 body parts together and they create a sound. Now, ants don't have ears, but they certainly can feel vibrations, so stridulating is one way to excite nearby ants. And, you know, ants eventually get the message across really quickly. As you can see here, look, they're more and more are coming. I see someone in the chat saying, are polymorphic ants more interesting to watch? Well, I mean, I have polymorphic ants, we have Camponotus, but I would say no to that. I would say no, because in my experience, they certainly are interesting to look at, because you have varying sizes of workers, but in our experience, the majors don't really specialize in the killing as much. You know, the Camponotus, the ants that we have, you know, the majors kind of like stay on the sidelines with their jaws open, and they kind of wait till the smaller workers kill the prey, and then when the prey is killed, the majors come in and they help dismember the body. You know, they're kind of like, okay, the prey is dead, I can come in now and I can help cut the body up for everybody. And that's the case in many ants. In fact, in Mark Moffat's book, Adventures Among Ants, the polymorphic species of Phaedologeton do it that way as well. You know, these specialized super majors come by and they help cut up enemies and prey items. It's really neat. Alright, so I'm going to leave you guys here to watch the colony, and we'll probably be streaming this for a few minutes or so. Thank you once again for everybody who tuned in. It was a great show, and hope to see you next time. Bye, guys.
AntsCanada, AntsCanada, all original from the carrier. AntsCanada, AntsCanada, all original from the carrier. In a world where ants are just a novelty, our dream is to promote serious and keeping those fascinating ants we can learn from them. AntsCanada.com, we're in heaven, in AntsCanada, AntsCanada, all original from the carrier. AntsCanada, AntsCanada, all original from the carrier. Struck with ant love, we got tutorials, all the best ant YouTube videos. Oh, if you failed before, well, have no fear. We got all the best and keeping it here. AntsCanada, AntsCanada, all original from the carrier. AntsCanada, AntsCanada, all original from the carrier. God and love, we got and love. God and love, and so what you thinking of? God and love, we got and love. God and love, and so what you thinking of? AntsCanada, AntsCanada, all original from the carrier. 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 AntsCanada, 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 AntsCanada.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the AntsCanada Ant Anatomy Lesson 101. Here we go. Let's start with the head, known as the prosoma. Vestigium clippius, idiscoclippius, premalar space angina, frontoclippial suture, clippio malus suture, stapen frontal carina, frontal vertexal corner, and medial clippial carina, clippial flank. Here's the antennal condyle, and there's anticlippius, mandible built like a tank, toralis, temple, vertex, maxillar, and labial palp, and the ocular sulcus, submentum, prementum, occipital carina, inferior to thectal surface. Now let's move on to the mesosoma. Dorsopropodium, neck and pronotum, anteropropodial process, posteropropodium, and mesonotum in the mesonotal process. Yes, lateropropodium, lateropronotum, the dorsolateral margin. There's dorsopronotum, proplurum, propodial, spine and catepisternum. The pronotal lobe, metaplural glands, prometacoxa connect to the trochanter, and episternum, metaplurum, procoxa, mesocoxa, the prefemour. Moving on to the leg and metasoma.
tibia, femur, and tibial spur double claws, they will hook you alive. There's the tarsomeres, aka the tarsal segments, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nodal truncation, the petioid segment found just in wasps, ants, and bees. The hypopygium, pygidium, epipygium make up their hind knees. The cinctus and opus logaster, and here we have the metasomal poster guide. Here is the sternopostpetiolar process and the metasomal sternite. Let's look at the queen with parts workers don't have. Two tiny eyes on the fronts of the queen are called lateral ocelli. Foviola and costula, median ocellus, the name of the middle eye. There's the scutum scutellum, and the prescutellum is also known as axilla. Transcutal suture and scutoscutellar sulcus caudal metasoma. Wing scales and 2 pairs of wings, full wings in total with every queen and male alate. Here's the parapsidal line in the strigae. Fovea, foveate, the striae or striate, antenna, rugocostate, and some have a stinger at the end. Hello fellow ant keeper, there's things I wanna say about how many folks want ants from far away, way. What did you say you sell at a colonies? Sorry, I'm not interested, I love our species. Canadian species, Toronto species. Sorry, I'm not interested, I love our species. Just a second, North American ant diversity is so big, vast and varied, check antweb.org. Wouldn't find me buying weaver ants from Philippines, cause I can always visit them when I fly overseas. Stop buying ants that aren't found in your yard. Your ecosystem could become a graveyard. Why buying ants from millions of miles away, when there is beauty in species from your place? Your native ant species. DLAs. Your native ant species. So many ants from your homeland that you don't need to buy exotic ants. Ants where you're from that are used to your sun and the climate you already have. Why be in debt every time you get these foreign ants of $1,000? What will you do when the colonies huge and your winter comes and they die, then what? The way they're selling alien ants to kids who want gigantic colonies from tropics when their climate's temperate. Risk invasions from the other side of the Atlantic in spite of fantastic wild ants from which to pick. Not that I don't ever dream of owning Atta, but it will be in my condo in Costa Rica. For now the species here are free and valuable to me. To other places my ants are exotic species. Exotic species. Exotic species. Enters from tropics one are exotic species. Stop shipping, stop handling ants from thousands of miles away. How would you feel being shipped like an earthquake? Unless you come from a place that protects your native ants. Buying exotic species makes no sense. All myrmecologists, ecologists, academia caution the transport of non-native fauna. Open your eyes to the beauties that lie deep in your soil. Discover your biological profile. A colony started from nothing. It's such a great feeling because I love our ants, I'm watching them dance in the air when the LA's mate on wing. Watching a queen build her colony from nothing is just so rewarding. Visit your zoo if you really have to, lay your eyes on some exotic ants. I took the road but it only showed me the beauty of our native ants. Your native ants, so many ants. Ants where you're from that are used to your sun and the climate you already have. Your native ants, so many ants. Ants where you're from, yeah, all the common ones you'll find beauty in your native ants.